Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn People Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are bringing the last episode of the Popcorn People Podcast to you guys. We're going to talk about our top 10 movies of 2024. As always, I'm joined by my good friend and podcast partner here, Mr. Dom Fisher. How are you, man?
What's poppin', Colonels? Man, I'm just so happy that Christmas is over and done with. We talked about this before. It's just crazy that the time of the year that's supposed to be about cheer and merriment, it just ends up being stressful. You're driving place to place and you got to fake like gifts, and it's just a whole thing, man. It's a whole thing. But other than that, yeah, I'm good. The year's coming to an end. We're heading into the abyss that is 2025. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely yeah, it's definitely interesting as we jump into this new year because there's a lot of things going on, there's a lot of world events about to happen, all that yada yada yada. But on top of that, we got some fun things coming down the pipeline. We do have Critics' Choice right around the corner. We'll be out there in LA for that, diving into those fun events. That'll transpire with that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun last year when we went out there, and we had ourselves a time, and we'll definitely be back having another time and then breaking that down for you guys when we come back. So very, very excited about that. Just trying to stay afloat, optimistic about what the world has in store for us next year. You know what I mean? That's all you can do. Can't be too worried about it. Just worried about what you got and worry about what you're doing. But yeah, I've reflected, on all the movies that we've watched this year. I was writing down my top 10. I was kind of toying with some movies, and there's, for a year that's got quote unquote, bad year for movies, I found myself struggling solidifying that bottom half of my top 10. So because of that, we're going to talk a little bit about some honorable mentions that we didn't quite make the top 10, but we feel like we need to talk about them a little bit. So Dom, just give me a couple of them honorable mentions that you felt the need to try to fit them into the 10, but when it came down to it, you're like, nah, man, I can't do it.
Yeah, and this is good. Some of these are probably going to sound completely bonkers to some people why I didn't make it in to my top 10. And it's a very hard thing to do because my top 10 usually consists of not only just great films, but originality and perspective along with spectacle. There's a lot of things that like I need the movie to like sit in my mind for a long time. And some of these they just got edged out by some other ones. My first one is a heavy hitter to a lot of people, at least right now, that didn't make it. Nosferatu didn't make my top 10. Love the movie. It just got edged out. Another one, I just rewatched it again recently. Love watching the movie. It just got edged out. My Old Ass. Fantastic movie, but it's hard. And then A Complete Unknown. I really wanted it to be up there, but like I feel like it was too new for me to like for it to jump over some of these other ones I had on there. And then The Order. I really love The Order. It was one of those ones where it sat there at number 10 and it got swapped out multiple times. And honestly, the hard thing about top 10s, and I don't know how it is for other critics, but my list tends to change a little bit, one or two spots over weeks of like making, voting, coming up with different lists for different things. Sometimes one movie gets edged out, and then the one that was edged out previously gets put up there. So it just for now, those are my honorable mentions. What are yours?
Yeah, so we have one that's very much the same, and that's My Old Ass. It was a movie I wanted so hard to put it in my top 10. I so badly, I was like, I need this in my top 10, and I kept going over it. I felt really confident about like my 1 through 7 almost. 8, 9, and 10, it was like, all right, do I want to go here? Do I want to go here? Do I want to go here? And it, to me, it was just like going back and forth. And I was like, you know what? I'll just talk about it in the honorable mentions because it fits perfectly there. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
such a movie, though. It's such well written. If you haven't watched it, it's on Prime Video. Highly recommend checking it out because it is a very, very, very good movie. Another movie on my list is Your Monster, Melissa Barrera, Tommy Dewey. It's crazy because it's like, is it? It's one of those movies that I really wanted to put in my top 10 just because it might not be the top 10 movie of the year for me, but it's one of those movies that I could see myself. I'm probably going to watch 100 times. So
Yep.
for that alone, it makes it want to be like repeated viewings is something that's important, something I want to watch again. That's why some of the movies that are on my top 10, I have watched multiple times to kind of solidify that top 10 for me. But yeah, it's definitely on there. Another one is Conclave, a film that I didn't like the first time I watched it, and I watched it again, and I was like, holy shit, this movie is it. Like, this movie's legit. And honestly, it's probably a film that I want to watch again. And when I do, I'm probably going to be mad it's not in my top 10 because it's so good. It's a quiet, just. I talked about this earlier when we were talking about it. It's like it's the perfect movie. Like, if you think about the film coming out in 1990, it probably wins 95 Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And I think it's that type of movie it's basic to a certain extent, but it's so powerful in its storytelling and the layers that it pulls back in the pulpit and stuff like that. I love the deep, just kind of the dissecting of that entire story. So it was definitely hard to leave out of my top 10 though, but man, I got a good top 10. You know what I mean? I can't complain about the top 10. You know what I'm saying?
And I watched Conclave somewhat recently. Am I tripping, or was Stanley's Tucci's character? He, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, he helped orchestrate Dude Coming, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because it just seemed that it played out too perfectly where they didn't, no one knew this guy, shows up out of nowhere, and he's like this beacon, like knows the perfect things to say, is a perfect candidate. And just seemed that it played out a little too perfectly, and where he wasn't too upset either when like, oh, I guess I'm not gonna win. I don't know who's. It was really good though. It was.
Yeah, I think, and the thing about it is like if you watch it back, like I think if you watch it back, the more you watch it, the more you kind of unpack some of that. I think you'll unpack more of the story that maybe you didn't capture the first time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that to me is something that I really enjoyed the second time. But yeah, it's definitely a film that I think requires repeat reviewing to really kind of really peel back all the layers. And that's why I say I think every time I watch it, I'll probably be mad it's not on my top 10 because I feel like you pull more and more away from it every single time. Because again, I wasn't even enamored by it the first time I watched it. You know what I mean? I was like, this movie's whatever. And then I sat down and watched it at home. And it was a Sunday morning before, as I'm sitting here writing articles, and I'm like, I stopped writing. And I was so invested in the story. I was like, this is great. You know what I mean? So yeah, even now as I talk about it more, I just want it to be in my top 10, It's
probably a really good companion film to Two Popes. Like I feel like if you watch them back to back and you see like the dramatic side and then the one that's kind of more meticulous side of how all this stuff works, it's really interesting.
I 1,000% agree. All right, folks, how we're going to do these ratings is this. We're going to do 3 apiece. We'll go back and forth, 10-9-8, 10-9-8, 7-6-5, 7-6-5, 4-3-2, and then we'll do the big old razzle-dazzle of revealing our number one movie. Little razzle-dazzle action. But Dom, I'm going to let you go through 10-9-8. Give us the films and maybe why they're there.
Ooh, 10-9-8. So, number 10 is Dee Dee. I feel like Dee Dee really captured what it was like in that time. Was like 2008, and it really captures of that feeling of being a kid trying to fit in. You're saying the wrong things. You don't know how to completely be yourself, but you feel like everybody around you does. Like it's a great encapsulation of that. Number 9, Heretic. I couldn't leave it off my list. Like I was so enamored with this movie when we at the screening. I was I had the smells with me because we had like the little kind of 4D experience, I guess, or the sensory experience, and just all the talking points and the messaging and all these things. These are conversations I've had many a times, and to see it kind of unfold in this dark way was really fun to see. And then Hugh Grant is terrifying in that movie, and it's weird to for someone so charming to be this terrifying. Is crazy. And then number 8 is, I feel like it's a sleeper film. It was talked about a little bit by us and a few other people, but it's still maintained in my mind all year long. And that's Scrambled. If you haven't seen Scrambled, when I talk about perspective, this is like a perspective that we don't see often, like in this way. It may get talked about and there's comedies about it, but never in a way that goes in this kind of detail. And you see how hard it is for women. And I don't want to give too much away, but like just look it up. And I believe it's on Prime Video. Fantastic. You'll love it. What are your...
Yeah. Film is definitely fantastic. I love that movie quite a bit. I do. It's a movie I found myself trying my best to figure out where it would land on the X, Y, and Z of all of the things, and I just couldn't figure out a way to get it there. But I love that you had it. Love that you highlighted it, just so that we can have the conversation here about it. But all right, for me, coming in at number 10, I have Smile 2. Movie I was very disinterested in seeing. We saw that obviously we had a screener for it. I didn't care for it. I didn't really want to see it because I was like, I don't care. The first one was kind of cheeks, but yeah, I mean, it's not just the phenomenal performance by Naomi Scott. Like, she's fantastic. I think that she's award worthy. I've said time and time again that I feel like she should be nominated for an Oscar for a performance in this because it's so damn good. She was in my 3 whenever I turned my ballot in for Critics' Choice. She's in my 3 when I turned my ballot in for the Music City Film Critics Association. The film, the performance, it all just blew me away. I thought that the script, I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I just talked about it a few minutes ago, but his script was great. But yeah, coming in at number 9, I have A Real Pain. Movie, a movie that was in my top 3 for a long time because I saw it back at Sundance. Stood the test of time. It kind of moved all the way down to 9 now that we're sitting here talking about the best of, but still, Jesse Eisenberg wrote, directed, starred. Funny, delightful little buddy comedy that has some impactful and powerful scenes. There's a reason Kieran Culkin is giving getting awards left and right because it is one of the best supporting performances of the year. Coming in at number 8, it's going to be maybe controversial, maybe not, but Joker Dos. I think it's going to be one of the most underappreciated movies of 2024. I think this movie is going to stand the test of time. I think in 3 or 4 or 5 years, people will watch this movie and be like, damn, we said this was bad. How did this get a 22 on Rotten Tomatoes? I think that Todd Phillips' script, there's some parts of this movie to me that are better than the original, better than the first film. There's certain elements of his story that are impactful. I think that the story, if you watch this movie and you get on social media and you watch everything that's going on with this Louis guy, it's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing. The way they were handcuffing him, carrying him around, it was the scene out of the Joker. And these people, and it's crazy to me. There's so many people that will, whether I don't really, I'm not going to go into the depths of what he did or whatever like that, but you cannot like or support or do anything towards this Louis guy and say this movie sucks. You can't. They're not one and the same. It's the same thing. Same thing that's transpiring in real life is the same thing that happened to Arthur Fleck in this movie. It's like, it's crazy to see that it's happening in real time as we're living this life. And it's the parables there are insane. And I think if people studied it and sat down, I'm like, you don't need to have a Louis, I don't even know his full name or whatever.
I think it's Luigi.
Luigi, whatever. Mario Luigi. We don't have to have a Luigi movie. Just go watch Joker, the second Joker. It's just watch that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know.
And I think we were the we were the outliers
100%.
of this film. Like if you look across the internet, you just type it. Most people hated this movie. Now I will say I think some people hated it online but liked it in secret because they wanted to be part of the majority. Because you're like, well, what didn't I understand that other people did? Then that's why they don't like it. And it's like, no, if you liked it, you're right. You're right in what you liked about the movie because we're in that same boat.
Exactly. And that's the thing to me. I don't know. This movie was hated before people saw it. Period. End of story. Like that's it. Like people were ready to jump on the Joker sucks bandwagon way before the movie even came out because they hated the first one. So, which is funny because the number one movie I liked of this year is a movie that I hated the first one. So you can like a second one and hate a first one. Period.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dom, hit me with your 765.
All right. Number 7 made me cry. And I don't cry often. And I believe I had my stepson with me. He said, I think he said on our last show, that's the one he cried in as well. Sing Sing. Again, perspective, powerful performances by Coleman Domingo, by Clarence Macklin. Like, it's one of those movies that, like, it hit me harder than I expected. And I was not expecting anything that happened to happen and blew me away. Number 6 is one of it's the surprise of the year for me because I went into this like, what is this going to be about? And then I walked out of the theater like, I need to watch it again. Kneecap. Number 6 is Kneecap. Loved it. It's one of my favorites. Clearly, it's one of the ones where I was telling everybody like to watch this. It's creative. These guys are playing themselves, and they first time acting. Great job. Number 5, I feel like should be talked about more, and I think just the marketing, the machine behind it, just didn't push it enough. And that's A Different Man. It is so good. Like, this kind of the grass is greener storyline and the way that it flips and the way that he's going through this turmoil of like, hold on, it wasn't working for me. Like, it's so good. Sebastian Stan is quietly like one of the best actors. He's not out doing interviews all the time. He's not like out on the town being seen, but this dude is doing work. And this movie is one of his best films.
Yeah, man, that's a movie that I wish I would have brought up in my honorable mentions. But I will say this it's a movie that I want to rewatch. I really liked it the first time I watched it, but I didn't get a chance to rewatch it, and because of that, I haven't really been able to kind of dissect it enough to really warrant it being in my top 5. Sebastian Stan's in my top 3 for actors, of the year. And rightfully so. That performance is so damn good. It's a movie that they fumbled so badly. They just had too much.
Yep.
They just had too much going on, and I think that was a big reason why it kind of got the fumble of the bag there. All right, coming in at number 7, quite possibly the biggest sleeper of the year for me, and that was A Complete Unknown. I fit this on my list because I have watched it twice and I have listened to the soundtrack. My wife might kill me probably about 4,000 times now. But one of the things that I found fascinating about this is I'm not a Bob Dylan fan. I never really sure, I know of Bob Dylan. You know what I mean? You know of Bob Dylan. You have to kind of know of Bob Dylan type of thing. But for me, I really didn't know a lot about his story. And I think that one of my favorite things about what James Mangold didn't try to capture his entire story from his entire life. You got a little bit of a bubble, and that bubble was fresh. It was different. It was unique. I think another thing that he did was quite daring, was forced his actors to sing and perform and do this live. And to me, that's why I think Timothée Chalamet's performance is just next level, to understand that he's singing in front of a live audience and he's playing the guitar. He's doing all of these things, and the supporting performance in this is, Monica Barbera, Ella Fanning, Edward Norton. I think the list goes on and on. I think there's several different performances that have little bitty roles in this that are very, very good. And I have to shout this guy's name. He's in something. He was in The Offer a few years ago. I got to remember his name. He's always good in everything he does. Plays a little bit of he plays the manager in this. Give me a second here. Dan Fogler. Dan Fogler. He's fantastic in this. Yeah, I really enjoy it. He's the guy that gave him this little sucker punch.
Yeah.
Sucker punch there towards the film. Loved it. Loved complete on that. It again, because I was able to rewatch that, it kind of was able to solidify my thoughts on that. Coming in at number 6, Exhibiting Forgiveness. This is a film that I haven't rewatched. I've had ample opportunity to. Had a screener sitting on my lap before I interviewed Titus, and I wanted to rewatch it again. And I was like, it's such, for me, it hits close to home, and how the story of overcoming your past, a troubled relationship with your father, the entire thing is so raw. I don't think we've ever seen anything as raw about overcoming your past. And then Andre Holland, awards bodies, awards people, everybody has done this film a disservice. Yeah. Sure, maybe don't like the film, but you cannot tell me that Andre Holland does not give one of the top 5 performances of 2025. He does. It's insane to me. It's insane.
Yeah. Even that scene where they're at the park, him and Anjanou go back and forth. I was in the theater like,
damn.
Why are you? Hold up.
Damn. You know what I mean? And to me, it's such a fascinating thing, because it's that heavy hitter of a moment, and then there's other moments with his father where there's no words being spoken, and you can feel the emotional weight of like 30 years in this just intense environment. I think Titus Kapur's script is, and I think that's a big reason. Holland's performance is fucking great. It was my number 2 lead performance of the year for actor, and to me, Holland brings it to life, but Kapur's script is next level. Let me do it. 7, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, right? We're at 5 now, right? Yeah. I had to do math here, guys. Sorry. Math on the spot is not good for me. A movie that I loved, a movie that's quite controversial apparently to love. That's Emilia Perez. I love Emilia Perez. It's fascinating. It's bold. It's daring. It's unique. It's fresh. It's one of the most unique experiences that I think I've ever had inside a movie theater. I don't know what to say about this film that I haven't talked about a billion times, but the groundbreaking ensemble cast: Carla Sofia Gascon, Zoe Saldana, who gives probably, if you just list out best performances of the year, she's in the conversation, whether that's male or female. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. There's several scenes in that movie that she knocks your socks off, period. Selena Gomez. One of the things that I think fascinating to me about Selena Gomez's performances, and it's not being rewarded as much in some places, and that's fine, because I don't know if it's a award-worthy performance. I think the ensemble definitely is, but Selena Gomez didn't have to do this movie. You know what I mean? I don't mean to say she's playing it safe with Only Murders in the Building, but it's a very safe role. It's a very comedic. It's not as demanding or bold, or it's probably something easy to kind of digest, right? This film, like, even all but being in maybe I think 25 minutes of the movie, she does a lot in this movie, and what she does in this role is perfect. It's great, and I love this movie, and I don't care what anybody says about it. I love it. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself, or to tell everybody about it. Just don't criticize me for liking the movie, because I think it's fantastic. So we're getting to that. We're getting to the heavy hitters now here, Dom. 4, 3, 2.
And I'm kind of mad that I didn't have that at least in my honorable mentions, because I love that movie. I wear the damn hat every once in a while, and it just fucking slipped my mind. 4, and it's 4 for me is performance driven, and that's Honora. I loved Mikey's performance. I know the talk was big going into the movie. And then after seeing it, I was like, yep, they were 100% correct. Mikey Madison is all that in this movie. Number 3, for the same reasons that you had already listed, Exhibiting Forgiveness is my number 3. That movie at times was a little too real for me. And that's both like hard to watch, but also very, very good to see, because it was like specificity breeds universality. You know what I mean? Like, and that movie definitely was something I was like, oh shit, like I've been through some variation of this, and I feel it really, really deeply. Number two uh, was very unexpected, especially just and sometimes when you see a name, like a title of a movie, you're like, what is this gonna be about? You can read the synopsis and you still don't know exactly what you're gonna get. Number two for me is Nickel Boys. From the performances, the script to the cinematography, like this is it's done such a like beautiful, majestic, creative way, and just the POV or just the camera behind type of way they shot the film, it makes it hit that much harder. And it's one of those ones like Origin last year where this is a important story. This is something that like again, like Origin, it should be shown in schools. Like not only because it's historical, but because when you talk about film, this is one of those movies I think you can put in film school and be like, look how this is done. This hasn't been done on this kind of artistic level and intimate level. I don't want to say ever because I haven't seen every movie ever, but I don't. This is not a movie you see very often, and like my number three, it hits hard, and it's a movie that we have this thing where movies like this, movies like Malcolm X or movies like Emancipation tends to not have as mixed of an audience as you would like. People that you think should watch the movie to gain perspective tend to shy away from because either they don't want to know the truth or they don't think that they can relate. But this movie, if you can't feel what these people are going through, like there's something wrong with you. And doing it in the way they did it puts you directly in their shoes, so they make sure that you feel and witness the atrocities that took place in real life that was tried to be buried in the history books. So yeah, important movie, powerful movie, amazing performances.
Yeah. Coming in at number 4 on my list, I've got Nosferatu. A very mixed bag on Robert Eggers. Hated The fucking Lighthouse with a strong passion. I thought The Witch or Vitch or whatever you want to say was just fine. And then I really did like The Northman, was a big Northman fan. Nosferatu blew me away, just top to bottom, just a technical masterpiece. Lily Rose Depp gave by far my favorite performance in a lead actress this year. My number one. I do think it's kind of cool that my number 1 and 3 is both horror performances this year because, as everybody will know, I'm not that big of a horror guy, but when a horror hits, it hits. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the big thing for me. When it hits, it hits. Coming to number 3, a movie I have watched more times than any other film on this list. It's a film that I love so much, and I think that it's been painted dust way too much, and that is Civil War. It is by far one of my favorite movies of this year. I think it's, first off, it's an easy watch, I guess you could say, kind of terrifying, but to me, it's an easy watch. But I love this movie. I love the script. I love the direction. I love the cast. I love the story. I love the way that it breaks down. I love that it doesn't ride one side or the other, no matter how anybody attempts to tell you that it does. I don't think that it makes you force you to deliver what side of the fence you need to be on. I just think that it told a story. It told a captivating story. It told an original story. Does it hit a little bit close to home? Probably, but that's okay. It's essential viewing. I think it's amazing. And I've watched it again 5 times now, I think, and I love it every single time. I've came so close to ranking it 5 stars. I just don't know why I haven't pulled the trigger yet. Coming in at number 2, I have the same number 2 as you. Nickel Boys. One of the most, I don't know, Ramil Ross is a visionary. I can't believe that he told this from the first person perspective the way that he did. It's a movie I really want to watch again. It's a very hard movie to watch. one of the things that I think that I find so fascinating about this is his ability to have this awful story, but it's filled with such little subtle things of hope and heart. And there's a layer of comedy in this, funny moments
Yeah.
that he sprinkles in that I felt like they're like well timed. Because again, this is a traumatic movie to watch. And you're watching and you're like, damn, this shit sucks. And then he just drops this little funny moment. And to me, it's one of the most beautiful things you can see in these type of films because again, you're watching travesty, tragedy, and you're seeing it painted in a completely different way. You know what I mean? It's from a raw perspective, it's from a real perspective, and how he paints the little in between moments, I think, is what really stands this movie stands apart from the rest. But God, what a movie! Fuck, what a movie! I want to watch it again though. One day I'll watch it again. I don't know what day that'll be, but I just want to. I have to be in a mood where I just want to be pissed off the rest of the day. So, you know what I mean? But yeah, drum roll. All right, number one movie of the year is what, Dom Fisher?
Number one of the year for me is Dune Part 2. Like, it's got the spectacle. It looks fantastic, technically sound. It's got amazing cast, amazing performances, some scenes that are just like, oh, powerful. And, you know, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, you got your everything you want. I mean, you have the action, you have like this love thing going on, you have the drama, the things going on behind the scenes, the subterfuge, it's almost like a political thriller at times. There's a lot of things going on, and then he found a way to and I don't think he's one of the guys who listens to what fans are saying because he's like, I'm an artist, I make art, and that's what it is. But from what all the things that people that didn't like the first one, he's like he heard and was like, I got you. You just wait on it. Just wait on it. And he gave us like, the blockbuster of the year, and it came out in like March. Like he could have, if he wanted to, it almost seems like a humble thing he did. He could have ruled the summer, like easily. But he's like, you know what? I'm gonna drop a little early, get y'all a little gift to get y'all excited about film again. And yeah, Dune Part 2 is a banger. I can't wait for the next one. Yeah, it's hard not to like.
February 20th, 2024 was the day that I saw Dune Part 2. I walked into that theater not excited at all. I was like, holy shit, 2 hours, 40 minutes, or whatever it was. I was bitching. Dom can attest to this. Bitching and complaining the entire time because I hated Dune Part 1. I rewatched Dune Part 1. I don't remember, like after again, I was like, oh, I'm gonna give it another try. Nope, still boring, still awful. But going into this, there's no movie like this year. It's a visual spectacle. It's masterful. I look. I understand Timothée Chalamet is getting a lot of well-deserved praise for his turn as Bob Dylan, but that scene in that movie, there's about a 2.5 minute scene where he comes to the realization that flip switches in his head. Paul Atreides, he comes up with the decision. You know what? I got to be that guy. I got to be the Messiah. You know what I mean? I got to be the Messiah. And that speech that he delivers is one of, if not the best scene of 2024. The fact that this man is not being like talked about, for best actor is crazy. I understand he's getting it for Bob Dylan and well deserved, but I don't know, man. This movie Denis is one of the best working directors. It's a visual spectacle. It's one of the greatest blockbuster films ever made, because one of the things that and Dom touched on a little bit was, it's visually stunning. The direction is top notch. Hans Zimmer's score is amazing. The characters are, but like, it's got everything in this movie. Everything you could ever want in a film. Dune Part 2 has. It's insane. Like it's one of my favorite movies of this decade, this side of the decade. It might even be in that top 1 or 2, but maybe we'll do that as a podcast in the future where some of the movies rank up over the last decade. You know what I mean? But to me, Dune Part 2, far and away the best movie of the year. And as I said, I gave 2 films in 2024 5 stars. Nickel Boys and Dune Part 2 are the only 2 films that I gave 5 stars to this year. Again, the Civil War is on the fence. I still don't know why I haven't, because I feel like it's damn near perfect. I just don't know what it is, but I've become to be a little bit better about giving out those 5 stars for some reason. I don't know what it is about me, but I have. But yeah, Dune Part 2, man. Timothy Chalamet to the fucking moon, man. That dude can fucking act. And I've loved seeing him on this promotional tour. He's been fun. Listen to him on the Theo Von does not need any like help promoting his podcast, but Timothy Chalamet was on Theo Von's podcast, and I didn't realize that Timothy Chalamet could match Theo Von's beard. And that to me like made me fall in love with Timothy Chalamet all over again. But yeah, so it's definitely awesome. Definitely a great film. So very excited for Dune Messiah 2026, I think it is. So can't get here fucking fast enough. But you know what? I'm gonna put you on the spot, man. I did not watch the trailer initially when it came out, but I did see it in theaters on the front half of what did I go see? Oh, Mufasa. I actually liked. Did you see Mufasa?
Yeah, I did a review for Mufasa.
Did you like it?
I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. No, but what I'm going to ask you about is that fucking Superman trailer. What did you think?
So most of the geeks at Geek Vibes, they know, or the OGs know. I've never been a super huge Superman fan.
Same, bro.
And now part of it is because I, like a lot of people, you kind of write off a character that comes off as untouchable. He can do anything, and he's almost like the second fastest and the most strong, and he can't be beat. And you go, I mean, I feel like that's kind of boring, and I never quite do that deep dive. But then I remember watching Man of Steel, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's the humanity in him versus the superpowered him that he kind of tempers a lot. And then you go, okay, Henry Cavill is so great at this. How do you top that? How do you get somebody to give us what Henry did? And David Cornsweet, I mean, from this trailer, for one, they look a lot alike. I mean, it's crazy. I think he's taller, but they look a lot alike. But this trailer, it has me excited. I was like, okay, this, James Gunn and company, like, he knows what he's doing. And honestly, the after seeing like Peacemaker and things that he's done since he's been over there, it kind of looks like DC's about to go on a MCU run. Like when the MCU was really good, James Gunn, he was part of that, and it looks like this superhero DC versus Marvel thing. Marvel been up for a minute, and DC is like, you've had your turn. And, this is definitely going to be the start of it. But yeah, I think it looks great. The only complaint I've seen, I think I saw some people talk about like the color grading. And I was like, y'all are just nitpicking at this point. Like, it's not a finished product. This is just to give you, your little accoutrement before you get what you're going to get.
Well, you know what it is, man. It's some fucking Snyder, man. Snyder cult fucking people out there. Even Snyder shut that shit down. He said, I guess we can kill the Snyder or whatever. Snyderverse or whatever is what Snyder said. Calm the fuck down, man. Get a job, brother. Get out your mom's basement or something, man. That's the only thing. That's the only hate I'd be seeing on my timeline. I'm like, come on, guys. Get the, like, oh, the Snyder, bring back the Snyderverse. Man, I might go see this movie 5 times just to give it some money because I want nothing more than to see James Gunn succeed. There's a lot of people that for some weird reason want to see him fail in this role as the head of DC. It's a lot of the people because the Snyder people.
He's a weird, like, I think what people forget is that because they look up past things where he's weird and said weird things. You got to remember the people in the entertainment industry, these were not the popular kids in school. All of us, whether we're writing or whether we're in, behind the camera, in front of the camera, we were the weirdos. Okay, we we may have had our time at one point where we played sports or whatever, but we were like the weird kids, or you were friends with the weird kids. You were the friend. Your friends were like, why are you hanging out with those weirdos? Because I'm secretly like them, and I just can't let you know yet. Like Timothy, I've seen a lot of people like comment on the video I posted of him. They're like, I didn't know he was like this, and why is he? These are the theater kids, like the ones that probably got picked on, especially when we grew up. You were a theater kid or some kind of geek, you got picked on, you got called names, you're a little weird, you're off in the corner in your own little world, and it just happens that now that these people are the ones you fawn after, the ones that make you pass out and swoon, and you're reposting, and you have posters of, the ones that you called the weirdo, that's the ones who are on top now. So you got to remember, like, that's what it is. That's why I think people hate James Gunn, because he is a true weirdo, and he lets that be known. Like, he doesn't try to hide it, doesn't try to seem cool. He's like, look, I'm a weirdo. Like, that's why I'm over all the comics and shit now at DC, because I'm a nerd. And I think people forget that.
Yeah, man, and I'm excited. I mean, like I said, I didn't see the trailer. I did see it last night, or not last night, the night that I saw Mufasa. I was really, I thought it was really cool. I mean, and the people that nitpick, they're fuck off. You know what I mean? Like,
and Nicholas Hoult is Lex Luthor.
Oh,
this dude's been putting in work lately.
Everything, man.
And
the
he
Order,
is
Nosferatu, the Juror number 2. Now we got Superman. Like, this man's in everything. You know what I mean?
Rachel Brosnahan, fantastic. Like, if you haven't watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, like, she is bomb.
Yeah, so, I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for it. You know, I'm excited to see what's in store. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about 2025 a little bit next week. But that is it. Oh, no. Just kidding. That is not it, folks. I forgot. I did not forget. God, you think I would let you forget about this moment? You would think that I would let you forget about Dom's Corner. We're going to call it Dom's Corner. You know what I mean? Dom's Corner here at the end of the episode, where he gives you 1 minute unfiltered, tells you what's on his mind. We're going to give Dom Fisher here 1 minute just to close out the podcast. Give us a little bit of a, whether it's a story, some inspiration, some advice, whatever it is. But Dom, the floor is yours, man.
So I like to first say shout out to Galen Smith on TikTok. I think her name is @GSmitty, for a video she posted that triggered a memory. And I worked somewhere, and this person, they were talking about Friends. And I was like, I don't really like Friends. I ain't really seen too much of it. What? You haven't seen Friends? I can't believe you never seen Friends and you don't like Friends. And I was like, do you like Martin? Do you like Jimmy Fox Show? Do you like the Wayans Brothers? And they're like, oh, I never watched them. There's this thing in our culture, in American culture, where for some reason or whatever is the popular, like, white thing, it's everybody has had to have seen it, liked it, experienced it. But when it comes to Black media, it always seems to be this separate thing, and people go, a Black show, a Black movie, and not just a show or a movie. And it's very weird. It's very weird to me. And we have to get out of this. If you haven't seen Kubrick's movies, you haven't seen Francis Ford Coppola's, Scorsese's, those aren't the be-all, end-all of filmmakers. Just because they're considered the cream of the crop, like, why, like, certain narratives and things were at the top, because other creators weren't allowed to create. And now that we're here with more stories from different cultures, from different countries, like, they need to also be in this conversation. So if you are a person who says, I can't believe you haven't seen these Scorsese films, I'm going to say, I can't believe you haven't seen the Spike Lee films. I can't believe you haven't seen Jordan Peele. I can't believe you haven't seen Chloe Zhao, Denis. Like, we have to quit doing this, like, film elitism, where we bring up all these classic films or names, and pretend that we're superior to other people because we've seen these old boring ass movies and evolve. Like, gain some perspective, gain some creativity, and quit living in the past. Like, we're beyond that shit. Yeah, they're cool that they're there, and we can use them as like a partial blueprint because they were first, or they were there. But we have to quit pretending like, every movie can't be compared to The Godfather. Every movie can't be compared to Gone with the Wind or Citizen Kane. Like, we have to quit comparing things to different times and living in this weird time capsule and move the fuck on, because other people have shit to say and have added value to this life experience that we are living. So yeah, get off your high horse and watch some funny shit. Whether it's the Friday movies, they have a place. Fast and Furious has a place. John Wick has a place. Elf has a place. Like, we gotta quit the film elitism, and because you may have seen all those classics, but maybe I've seen more than you. Maybe I have more to say. Maybe I can take a goofy thing and see the perspective in it and have a poignant message, even though the movie was all fart jokes. You know what I mean? It's just how you watch a film. So yeah, get out your ass.